Welcome to the College Football Bros. I am Michael Newman, and we had some big news yesterday. Both CBS Sports and The Athletic reporting that the Big 12 has renewed contact with the four corner schools of the Pac-12, of course, Arizona, Arizona State, Colorado, and Utah, about potentially joining the Big 12. And this would obviously be a disaster scenario for the Pac-12 and kind of nearly put it on death's door if it were to happen. And from the Big 12's perspective, it's easy to see why they would do this. You'd be adding four good brands, you'd be weakening a rival conference, and you'd be adding an additional time zone for some of that late night TV inventory. But what about from the four schools' perspective? Does it make sense for them? Well, in this episode, I'm going to state four reasons why you could argue that it does make sense for them and they should join the Big 12. So let's get started with the list here. And number one on these lists with decisions like this, pretty easy to say, it's money. The Pac-12 is negotiating its media deal right now as we speak, and every trickle of news that we get seems to be bad. Most major networks have pulled out. It seems that streaming is likely to be a very big piece of this, and there's some pessimism that the amount of money the Pac-12 is going to get is going to be as much as what the Big 12 is getting. We don't know that for sure. Still could end up being more or the same, but there's the potential that it is for significantly less. And if that difference is significant, then yeah, makes sense. Go chase the money, just like USC and UCLA chase the money in the Big 12 or the Big 10, excuse me. And especially with the way that the sport is moving in the not terribly too distant future, it seems that players are going to be sharing in this revenue one way or another. So you need all the money you can get if you want to remain competitive. So that is kind of the number one reason that they might consider it if that Pac-12 TV deal doesn't come out the way they'd hoped. The next reason would be exposure. It's kind of related to that, those media negotiations. We don't know exactly what that media deal is going to look like, of course, but reports are that it's going to be heavily streaming based, which is, yes, the way of the future, but in the present and in the short term, I'd say that's still somewhat of a disadvantage unless you're getting, more money, because people still have basic cables. People still like to flip channels to watch college football on Saturdays. And if you're having to go to Apple or Amazon or open up a different app just to watch some random Pac-12 game, the ratings might not be great for that. So in addition to money, exposure is a thing that schools really value for not just their athletic program, but just for enrollment and just getting your name out there. So that is number two. And then the third reason is long-term safety, because even if you do get a decent deal with the Pac-12 that's for as much or more money as the Big 12 is getting, that's fine for maybe the next 5 or 10 years. But what happens when seemingly inevitably someday the Big 10 and SEC make more additions? Maybe the SEC adds schools like Clemson and Florida State. Well, the Big 10, excuse me, you can almost guarantee would go to the most attractive schools from the Pac-12, Oregon and Washington. And at that point, these four corner schools could get totally screwed. Maybe they could join the Big 12 at that point, or maybe if they're really lucky, they could join the Big 10. They'll be one of the lucky ones, but maybe not. And maybe you're stuck there and you're kind of in a glorified Mountain West. So moving to the Big 12 now, you kind of get safety in numbers. You're joining a conference that, has a lot of solid programs, solid brands that are invested athletically, but nobody's so great that you're constantly looking over your shoulder worrying that you're going to get poached from the SEC and the Big 10. So there's number three. And then my final reason here is admittedly not as big of one, but I think not insignificant, and that's basketball. The Big 12 is already one of or the best conference in basketball, if you trust Ken Palm. And now they'd be adding Arizona, one of the top brands in the country, and they're reportedly looking to potentially add Gonzaga as a basketball only school as well. So I'm sure the future TV deals in basketball would be pretty good for the Big 12. So there are four reasons why they might make the move. Let me know if there's anything I missed. I'm sure there is. And just let me know what you think will happen, what you think should happen in this scenario. I would predict that the Pac-12 stays together. That would still be my kind of stance here. But who knows? It's conference realignment. I have been wrong before. But thanks for watching this episode of the College Football Bros. Again, let me know your thoughts in the comments. And be sure to subscribe if you like college football. We're trying to grow the show, so we'd really appreciate that. Give the video a thumbs up, and we'll see you next time.